We send all that code off to NASA. They vet the code, send it up to the International Space Station, and then when an astronaut goes past the Astro Pi, one of them is randomly picked and shown on the screen. It tells them who their picture was shown to, which astronaut, where the space station was at the time it was shown, and what time it was. So the kids get this lovely, official NASA certificate. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Matt, so I'm interested. I asked my family, do you know what STEM stands for? And they didn't have a blooming clue. So what I want to do is, I now know it stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. But do you know the history? Who invented the whole STEM thing, and who was it originally aimed at?
So I'm what you call a STEM ambassador.
And what does that mean?
The STEM ambassador is basically somebody who has experience in any field of STEM subjects, who would like to dedicate some time and some effort into helping teach young adults and children more of those subjects and more about the world of science, engineering, technology, maths, and now art is included as well. So you might see some people refer to it as STEAM with an A in it, because art is a very integral part of that whole ecosystem. If you know as well as I do, if you come up with a concept, the first thing you do is draw it so that you can visualize what it's going to be. So art is now included in that. But the ambassador program, basically, it takes people that have the experience in those fields. You train to become a STEM ambassador, and there's a free online training program that you do. The STEM Ambassadors Association, the organization, then puts you through a DBS check, so you can be all signed off to work with children in schools, and away you go. You can be a STEM ambassador. And in general, the way it works is there is a great online resource that you can go onto, and educators, schools, youth clubs, universities, colleges, they will post requests for STEM ambassadors on this portal.
I see.
And if you have got some of the skills that they're looking for, and you've got an hour or 2 hours or 5 sessions over 5 weeks or whatever, you've got the drive to dedicate your time, then you can go and dedicate your time and you can deliver these sessions for them and give those young adults, those children, some real life, real world experience.
It's not very often on floor, but you've got such a good pitch there. It's like watching the telly.
Super.
So, and what sort of assignments, if that's the right expression, have you taken on?
So we've done various things. So I say we because I'm not the only STEM ambassador. I represent quite a lot of STEM ambassadors. There's over 28,000 STEM ambassadors in the UK. And me personally, I've done things like I've delivered a squishy circuits workshop where we've gone into a primary school and we've made we've made dough, cooking dough with the children, and just accidentally put too much salt in it. So we've made conductive dough, and then we've used that conductive dough to make circuits and put LEDs in and batteries and talk about how energy flows around the circuit. And making switches with dough is quite fun and things like that. So that's quite a good one that we've done. And then various other things. Lunch with a scientist is always very good. I'd recommend that. So quite a few schools, especially our local primary, it does lunch with a scientist for British Science Week, which is actually next week. And you get to go in and you can sit with the children, have lunch with them. The main appeal there, to be quite honest, is the free school lunch. So you get to sit with the children and you can talk about what you do and your experiences, and they can ask you questions about, the field that you have experience in. And when I say things about, you should be a STEM, you should have experience in the STEM fields, not a lot of people realise that STEM covers a huge amount. So you might think that, if you're a gardener, maybe that's not a STEM subject. But actually, if you're a gardener, you probably know quite a bit about botany. And a fair bit about biology as well, and a bit about chemistry. So you've got some kind of real life knowledge that you can kind of help deliver.
Yeah,
that's it, exactly. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that kind of real world experience that you can come in and deliver to the children so they can understand where the classes and the subjects they're learning in school could take them into life, basically. So that's the kind of thing that we've done. Outside of that, we've done all sorts of weird and wonderful things with the school. I do have some pictures to show you if you'd like some pictures. So this is stomp rockets. So this is where they fill the water rockets up and they stomp on them, and they have to work out how much air to fuel ratio. This is they did a pond dipping, so they're looking at biology here. They're looking at what's floating around in the pond, all the different insects and things.
Yes.
This one, I can't quite see what they're doing there. I think this was a designer solar system, so they were colouring in planets and doing all sorts of things for that. This one is layers separation, showing the separation of different fluids and different layers. They just put food colouring in the different layers.
Yes.
This one was pushing pencils through a bag filled up with water to see if it would leak, which it doesn't until you take the pencil out. And then this one is a candle under a glass container, and then obviously the candle uses the oxygen up, and it creates a vacuum, and it pulls the liquid up. Yes. This is making a Morse code sender with LEDs and a battery.
Yes.
And this was kind of an oobleck slime experiment where they made slime and see how far they can stretch it. So quite a few interesting ones. Oh, and the magnets one. So this was playing with magnets and understanding how magnets work. So you can do lots of quite good, fun, interesting, experiments and things with them.
Yeah.
So it can be really good fun actually. So
is the trick? We're not telling them. It's kind of hands on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. What you need to do is be engaging. If you stand at the front of a classroom of 30 kids and you talk about, the propagation against the ionosphere of medium waves and SSB, they just stop and that's it. But if you're grabbing a piece of rope, one of the things we do is we have a long piece of rope and we get them to hold the end and shake it as fast as they can, and we talk about how the frequency, the speed that they're shaking the rope changes the wavelength. So then we discuss, and we can go slower to create longer waves, or you can go harder to create more amplitude. Yes. So and we reference amplitude, frequency, and speed and wavelength all together with one physical experiment, which also tires them out. So it's great fun. So it's all about being engaging and coming up. If you're delivering something that is on a certain subject, it's about delivering it in an engaging way that keeps them interested. Because they remember it. They remember it.
So, when you and I were at school, maybe we didn't have this sort of hands-on, engaging way. I certainly didn't.
No.
I'm sure there must be some young people, children or whatever, really come out of their shell doing this sort of activity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You see people, they find a passion that they didn't realize they had because they never knew it was there.
Yeah.
And when we, one of the great things that we do is I'm trying to think of a great example is when we, you probably saw that we had an ARIS contact with the International Space Station last year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And what you didn't see is that before that contact, there was an 8-week program of events and after school clubs that took place with those children that actually did the contact.
Wow.
And, you sit there and you say, well, the chances of one of you becoming an astronaut is fairly slim, but being an astronaut isn't the be all and end all of working in the space industry.
No, good point.
They need chefs because someone's got to come up with the food and the programs and the dietary requirements. They need artists. They need designers. They need engineers. They need electricians. They need all these industries. So just because you're interested in space and you're thinking, well, I'll never be an astronaut, doesn't mean you can't work in the industry
and participate.
Exactly. Yeah. So and when they realize that, suddenly they think, well, I like baking. Maybe I could work for the European Space Agency. Yeah, maybe you could. Yeah.
So this is about inspiring people. And funnily enough, a lot of the videos I make, you've probably spotted it. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to inspire people to just go, oh, that works. I'll have a go at that. My audience, of course, is adults. I'm not trying to appeal to the younger generation.
Yeah. But if you can inspire an adult to use the skills and the knowledge they have to inspire
Good
the
point.
younger generation, then you're having a knock-on effect, and those knock-on effects is all it takes. It just takes one person to go, actually, this is something I could do. People could benefit from the experience I have.
Matt, I get the impression you're a fairly capable person. I mean, are you a working man?
Just to give you a bit of background, I mean, I'm not a career engineer. I'm not a career scientist. So I started my working life actually jumping off buildings for a living. I was an industrial abseiler. And
Amazing.
I spent the first 4 years of my life just, hanging off the side of big buildings.
Wow.
But of course, that involves a lot of engineering and maths and mechanics, thinking about loads on ropes and angles and things like this. If you're going to hang someone off the side of a building, you need to be pretty sure that the way they're attached isn't going to fail. So I did that for quite some time. That was quite good fun. Then I left there and I went and worked as an emergency services radio engineer. And I worked in that job for quite a while, and that was quite an interesting job that involved managing and looking after the county-wide UHF repeater network.
Wow.
And it involved setting up temporary repeaters for special events and operations.
Okay.
I also managed the network and security and encryption keys for the encrypted networks back then. There weren't many back then.
Okay.
This was before we moved across to what is now known as Tetra and Airwave, the digital system they use. This was all back in analog days. And we used to build special devices for special projects as well, all radio related. So that was quite good fun. That's really where I kind of cut my teeth on radio and RF engineering. I went and trained.
Were you technical before you got that job then? Or did you also have an interest?
I was. I started playing around with radio when I was about 13, 14. An old neighbour of mine kind of passed over this knackered old, it was an FRG7. It was the old frog. And passed it over the fence. That's it. Passed it over the fence to me, and I span around the dials, not really knowing what I was doing. And then I played with that for quite some time, actually. It's always amazing, just tuning in and getting the clarifier going and things. It was great fun. And then when I started working, I kind of lost interest in radio when I was abseiling. I was just busy doing that because I travelled all over the UK and quite a lot of Europe doing that.
Right.
And then when I went back and started working for the emergency services, that's when I really kind of got back into it. And that's when I really kind of cut my teeth on it, if you like. But I didn't actually do my amateur radio exam back then. I was too busy learning. I don't want to call it professional radio, but I was too busy learning kind of the commercial side of it. The working side of it. And I did a lot of training at a facility called Ray Castle, which is probably one of the premier telecommunications training centres in the world, up in the Lake District, because we had quite a big training budget. And the other staff in my workshop were, let's just say I was probably the youngest by about a factor of 20. So, so they weren't really that interested in training. So I took advantage of the training budget. Every other month I was on a course and learning about, different phase modulation techniques and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So that's really where I kind of cut my teeth on RF.
What a fantastic grounding!
It wasn't until I left that I actually sat my amateur radio foundation license, and I sat my foundation, my intermediate, and then a couple of years later I sat the full. And we'll fast forward to what I do now. So my main job is actually I'm self-employed, and I run a small guest house down here in Broadstairs, right on the seafront.
Really?
So it's a lovely location for HF because there's my garden, the building, and then there's a 100-foot drop to the beach, and then the English Channel. So it's absolutely fantastic for HF and VHF and UHF across into Europe as well.
Yeah.
And then I also run a small technical services company where I provide technical solutions for kind of niche projects and niche, difficult projects that other people don't really want to tackle, which is quite good fun. And on the side of that, I do a very small company manufacturing RF components and RF solutions for amateur and professional use. So, I'm quite a busy boy. And in amongst all that, I do quite a lot of work with the local schools, and I also do quite a lot of work with our local amateur radio club as well. I'm quite involved in that as well. We're a very active club, so it's quite nice to be busy.
Which club is that, Matt?
It is the Hilderstone Radio Society, which is G0HRS.
Right.
and they've won National RSGB National Club of the Year. I think it's 7 years running. We've been National Club of the Year for quite some time, right up until they stopped actually doing National Club of the Year, because they discontinued it a few years ago. I think they got bored of giving us the trophy, to be honest. But we're quite an active club. Everything we do, so everything I do with the local school is done through as a partnership with the club.
I see.
Because one of the other things that I find is if you approach a school as an individual, even if you've got your STEM ambassador badge, sometimes schools are a little bit wary of taking on individuals, and it's mostly because the school wants a commitment. When you say I'm going to deliver six sessions on radio direction finding, for example, we'll do an after school club and we'll do radio direction finding in the playground. They want the guarantee that there's a commitment there, that you're going to turn up for 6 sessions in a row. So when you come with a club or an organisation behind you, you can say, well, there's me and there's 3 other guys that will step in if I'm busy, type thing. So having the club behind you is a good thing as well.
I spoke to Mirko from Croatia, and he showed me pictures of 20, 30 kids in a classroom, all doing Morse code, digital, and everything else. And then they were being pushed out to clubs, running contests. And I was amazed. And I said to him, oh, what's the secret, Mirko? And he said, well, it's not just radio. We give them a good time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Off the top of your head, is there, just to inspire the people watching this, is there 2 or 3 things that are kind of radio? I really like the wavelength business and the frequency. That was really good. Is there anything else that can possibly push or tip someone over the edge into going, I want to play more radio,
Well, there's a couple of things that the kids really enjoy. One of the things that they really enjoy is actually working and receiving data from the FunCube satellite. So that's a very good one. So I have a talk that I do, and it's about it's a 10-minute long talk. It doesn't take very long. It's a little PowerPoint, and it's not death by PowerPoint. For example, in my PowerPoint presentation, there is a small goat. And the reason we have a small goat in there is because we talk about satellites. And we talk about, so we show a kind of a standard satellite, this kind of thing that's the size of an average family car type thing. And we put a goat in the driver's seat, and the kids love it. They think it's hilarious, but it gets their attention.
Yes.
So then we show the International Space Station, and we put the goat floating around outside it with his space helmet on. And now all of a sudden they've got a comparison for size. They can see the difference in size. And then we show the FunCube satellite, which is a 4-inch by 4-inch cube. And we show the goat next to it. And we show how small this thing is. And then we tell them that we're going to go outside and we're going to receive a message that's just for them from this satellite, from this tiny square that's smaller than their lunchbox, flying around in space. So we go outside and we receive a message as it comes over. And the FunCube, the guys that run the FunCube, they're very good. You can email them and you can have a personal message put on the FunCube satellite. So the children receive a message that says, congratulations to all the children in Mr. Smith's class at such and such school for receiving a message from space. So we download the data, we get them holding the antenna. They all take it in turns, tracking it across the sky. They all take it in turns, looking at the software, making sure we're receiving the data. And then we go back inside with the data and we read through all the messages. And then we look at things like the data from the solar panels. Because obviously the satellite is tumbling through space. So you can see the voltage curve coming up and down and up as the panels spin. And from that you can work out how fast it's spinning. And then we can pull out a fluffy square cube and throw it across the classroom and try and spin it at the same speed that we think it's spinning. So you can do all this kind of fun things with it. And the last thing we do is reread this special message for them. And they're all just amazed they get a message from space. So that's a good one. It involves science, technology, space, and radio. And they love waving the antenna around. That's really, really good. Another good one we do is we do a little bit of radio direction finding. That's always good fun.
Is it?
So we actually have a fluffy fox It's I don't have it here because it's currently up at the school, but we have a Fluffy Fox, and we put a radio transmitter inside it. It's just a very low power 80 meter transmitter.
Yeah.
And then we have the 80 meter receivers, the RDF receivers. And the children get one each, and they put their headphones on, and they get a very basic. This is how you use it. Off you go, and off they go into the school playground to try and find the hidden fox.
Yeah.
So that's really good fun and engaging. And we talk about how sometimes they end up in the wrong place because radio signals are being bounced off something. And they get to multipath. And so, and we've got two versions of that. We've got an 80 meter version, and if we want to be really mean and make it a bit harder, we've got a 70 centimeters version, which really multipath is really a problem with that. So it's quite sometimes they can be completely in the wrong place, which is quite fun. So so that's quite good as well. And then the thing that we do to get them on the radio is we try and do as many kind of on the air events as we can. And we use a mixture of HF and we use a mixture of DMR on via a local repeater as well.
Right.
And the reason we do that is because every child that we have in for that will have a go on the HF set and they'll have a go on the DMR set.
Yeah.
And on the DMR set, we can pretty much guarantee they're going to work somebody. We can pretty much guarantee they're going to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And this year, to make that even more fun, what we're doing is we're collecting time zones off the people that we talk to. Because British Science Week this year is all about time. So we as a club, we always look as to how we can weave that into radio. How we can get radio involved in British Science Week based on the subject they're on. So this year we're talking to people all over the world on DMR, and we're collecting their time zone, and the children are seeing how many people they can speak to and how many different time zones they can collect. And we did YOTA at the end of last year, in December. And we had one child was chatting to a chap in Australia. And he was amazed that he was talking to somebody who was living in the future. It was, it's like you're living in the future. It was absolutely amazing.
It's tomorrow here.
Exactly. Yeah. So really getting hands on with actual transceivers, being able to, and the key is let them play with them. Let them touch the buttons.
Yeah.
Don't just give them a mic and hold it up. Let them touch the buttons. Let them move it. You've really got to kind of let them engage with it, and they love it.
The strange sounds and everything.
Yeah, I mean SSB, they think it's great fun to just off-tune somebody a little bit on SSB and listen to them like a Dalek. Yeah, they think it's great. So don't try and correct them.
That FRG7 all those years ago.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So actual hands-on radio stuff is really good. They really enjoy that. And then there are other things that you can do as well. And another really good tool that we have in our toolbox is Mission Zero, which is absolutely amazing. It's not really radio related, but it's kind of electronics and coding related. And Mission Zero is a program that's run by the ESA, the European Space Agency, and NASA. And what you do is the children have to... So I don't know if you know, but on the space station they have a Raspberry Pi. It's called an Astro Pi.
Okay.
And the Astro Pi has a whole bunch of sensors on it. And it also has a small, almost like a dot matrix display. It's got a small LED grid, an RGB LED grid. I think it's about 12 by 12, or it could be 10 by 10.
Okay.
But Mission Zero, basically, the children have to program a Raspberry Pi to show a picture on that grid. And then when they've done that, it usually takes them about an hour and a half to actually learn how to do it. And they produce, a flower or a butterfly or, whatever they want, basically. And then we send all that code off to NASA via the ESA. And they vet the code, send it up to the International Space Station. And then when an astronaut goes past the Astro Pi, one of them is randomly picked and shown on the screen. And then about 6 weeks later, the children all receive this lovely certificate. It's absolutely gorgeous, this certificate.
Really?
And it shows them so it tells them who their picture was shown to, which astronaut, where the space station was at the time it was shown and what time it was, and a world map showing the track of the space station, the duration that the image was shown, kind of over which country, etc., etc. So the kids get this lovely, official NASA certificate and something that they have written, a program that they have written and designed,
Wow.
has actually been flown in space and run on the space station. So that's a really good one, and that's a completely free thing to do.
Yeah.
Completely free project to do, and really engaging with the kids. And if you don't have Raspberry Pis, there are various foundations out there, like the Raspberry Pi Foundation and a few others, that will loan you the equipment to be able to do this.
That's nice. Yeah.
So, and I should say that about the STEM ambassadors as well. The STEM Ambassador Hub has loan equipment. So you will have a local hub. So, for example, down here in Kent, our local hub is in Canterbury.
Yes.
And they have a resource of equipment, so I can go and borrow a bunch of equipment and use that to deliver a session on a certain thing. So material science or biology or engineering or physics, anything like that. So, it's really, really useful resource.
God, you have opened my eyes. Something amazing. Well, Matt, well done, mate. Is there anything you think I've missed that you want to contribute?
No, I don't think so. I think the main thing is just kind of, if you've got a passion for doing what we do for amateur radio, and you want to inspire children into those kind of areas, the kind of areas where, who's going to design your next ICOM HF set?
Yeah.
Because it needs to be somebody. So if you want to inspire someone into those areas and into those kind of fields, or even if you just want to encourage children into this hobby, then taking that into a school, a youth club, a university, a college, because we're not just talking about children, we're talking about young adults as well. You can deliver that if you've got the right demeanor and you've got a passion for it. Because let's be honest, we're not all people.
No, good point. Yeah.
So if you've got the ability to be able to work with those groups, and you enjoy it, and that's the main thing.
Isn't it? I know.
You enjoy going in and doing it.
Yeah.
Then consider becoming a STEM ambassador. Go and have a look at it. I can give you the website. It is just stem.org.uk. You can go on there and learn all about being an ambassador and what it means. Like I say, the training is all completely free. You can sign up. Your DBS check is all completely free, all done by them. And away you go. You can look at the offers in your local area. And to give you an idea of offers, I had a quick look before I came on this evening, and today a couple of the requests on there. So one of them is a local school to us is looking for a judge to judge an innovation contest.
Oh, wonderful!
Where their students have come up with innovative new products to solve real life problems. So they're looking for an external judge to come in and look at that. So if you've got experience in product design or development, then that's a great opportunity for you to go in and share that knowledge. Another one is looking for somebody to lead an experiment and an activity about time. So they're thinking either a timer experiment with sand or salt, or maybe a shadow experiment like a sundial, or even using puppets, anything like that, just to show time. And then the other one I highlighted was, we'll come back to my favourite, which is lunch with a scientist. That's definitely my favourite. Nothing to do with the free school dinner. Nothing to do with that at all. Yeah.
So the key for the STEM ambassadors, they've got to enjoy it. I mean, I did Cubs and Scouts for a bit, but after about 5 years, I just stopped enjoying it. So best I left at that point. Got to have a certain way with people.
Yeah,
because you probably noticed it as well. You'll meet some interesting adults along the way as well. Head teachers and physics people. So you grow your own world as well. It's not just the kids, is it? Well, I'm going to just direct this comment to anybody in the UK that is watching this. Incidentally, Matt, what about USA? I mean, is there STEM ambassadors all over the world, or is it very much a UK thing?
Okay, well, the STEM ambassadors that I'm part of, my experience and knowledge is UK based. Yeah, I'm sure there are probably other organisations that do the same kind of thing in your local region,
in your country.
It's worth looking at. But I mean, just literally type in, STEM volunteering or STEAM volunteering with the extra A in it.
Yes, very good.
And you will probably find an organisation that does this for you.
Very fine.
So very worth doing and worth getting involved in if you've got the capacity and the drive. It's a very worthwhile thing to do.
Inclination. Can you inspire people? And have you got the time? You're absolutely right. Matt, you have to come on the show again. You were so easy to talk to. Yeah, you got lovely audio. And remind me in a couple of months, as soon as the weather starts to get a bit better, wouldn't it be great to be able to tell people, well, a 10-year-old girl to make it, what is your problem?
And then we'll take it down the beach and put it up, and she can use it on the beach.
Whatever.
So
just have some fun with it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it'd be great.
It was a delight to have Isabella, cracking in there.
Yeah, she's always willing to come on a video. Yeah. So,
and least I can do, Matt, you got to come on a show another day. You're great, and then we'll talk about. I know you've got another little business that you're playing with as well, and we'll talk about that as well. Excellent. In the meantime, I bid you farewell. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.